Engaging celebrity interviews. Exciting updates from Christian filmmakers. Movie reviews so you can choose your movies wisely. And so much more here on Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Faith on Film. Thank you for joining us today. You know, Holly, we have a very special episode today, don't we?
We do. It's a different kind of show about a TV show, movie actually called Homestead, that may become a TV show. In fact, it's going to in a secret way. We'll tell you how. And we interview the star actor, Jesse Hutch, and it stars Neil McDonough. And we love him, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. and I'm hoping one day we get to interview him.
Yes, me too. But it's a very different movie, and it has kind of a different plot twist, doesn't it?
It does. You know, it's in, I guess you could call it an end time movie, but it doesn't really deal, at least not at this point, with the second coming. It just deals with an atomic attack that has been leveled here actually in California, and then just the whole idea of a homestead. But it does deal with a rather moral dilemma that I just had never thought about as it relates to being away in a compound somewhere.
Me neither. But let's take a look at the trailer and find out more about it with Jesse.
Everyone wondered how the world ended.
We got hit.
Does the sun
America's just been attacked.
go on shining?
But this is the story of how it began.
Los Angeles has been struck by a bomb.
Hold your breath. Hold your breath.
It might be nuclear.
I saw this.
So what?
We never come back.
After today, our lives will never be the same.
We have looting and widespread panic.
Hey.
Daddy has a place for us to go. We'll be together.
The city's on fire.
There's a guy, been planning for the big one, called a few months back, needs security people.
What is this place?
Welcome to Homestead. Your guys have to learn how to farm.
We grow our food. We raise our animals. Can you handle yourself with a gun?
This might be the most prepared location in the Rockies. Everyone's gonna want in, and I mean everyone.
My family's out here, and we're starving to death.
I wish we could help, but we can.
You can or you won't.
Our kids need us to be strong.
Please.
People are gonna die at this gate.
They're trespassers. In the hills.
They're stealing your grain. They've cut off your solar power.
We need a world where people help strangers, not shoot at them.
Sometimes we think we're doing the right thing and then it all goes wrong.
It's the end of the world.
It's time for you to take full control. It's complicated. Do you think that you're above the law? Do you think that the rules aren't for you?
Is this an ark, or is this a fortress?
It's our home.
It's the end of the world.
Jesse, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you on today to talk about this amazing, exciting new show you're in.
Well, thank you so much for having me, first of all. Faith on Film, I love it. I'm already in.
You're already in. Yay, you are in. Well, this show, first of all, we meet Neil McDonough, and there's so many other, Neil McDonough star, and there's so many other people we love that have starred with you, but you're not new to television or movies. You've been doing this for quite a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I like to say that I'm still working on my 24-year overnight success story. Yeah, no, you're right. Our cast is incredible, from Neil McDonough to Bailey Chase from Longmire to Don Oliveira from Yellowstone to Kieran Giovanni to Tyler Lofton, Olivia Sanavia, and of course, a little sneak peek once the movie's done and you're finished watching it in movie theaters. You can scan a QR code, go home that night and start watching the TV series, which picks up right where the movie ends. And we also have Joe Wagner from Lioness and Charles Eston from the TV series Nashville. So our cast is amazing. And we still have more. So You hit the nail on the
Wow.
head. We have an incredible amount of talent and people, and I am beyond ecstatic to be a part of this because I could not have planned this. None of us could. God definitely just, like if you sit down and you spend time with any of us as cast or crew, most of us will say something similar along the lines of, we just feel like we had to do this project. Like something in us was like, you need to do this no matter what. No matter what comes up against you, do it. And we've all been doing that. And I'm not going to lie, it's really exciting now to start to see the fruit of it reach everyone else, because we've kind of been in this secluded bubble of like, let's work, let's make it happen, let's get it done, let's work together, let's film it, edit. All this stuff is happening, and now it finally gets to come to the world, and it's full circle. So I'm excited for you guys to see it. I'm excited to share it with the world. I cannot say that about everything I've ever been on as an actor, but I'm genuinely moved when I watch this, and
oh my gosh,
and I genuinely really want to share this story with people. I just think it's timely, it's special, it's important, it's relevant. It's not preachy, but we are going to provide you opportunity to really come into the Homestead world. So get ready.
But just wait 1 second here, though, because are you saying that it's not just the movie, but the series is already done? I mean, people can scan the code now and watch it right after they see the movie?
2 episodes we have done, yes. So as soon as you're done watching the movie, there's a system set in place to pay it forward. And when you pay it forward, basically you're buying someone else a movie ticket so they can go see it. And when you do that, that allows you access to go and watch the 2 episodes, which the movie's good. It's amazing. And then when you get into the series, it's just like, we just amp it up. It's crazy. It's such a world and a universe to Homestead that I'm just pumped. I'm like, I can't wait for all of you to see it.
Wow.
I'm glad they're doing this, because there's so many times I see a movie and at the end I'm like, oh, I wish it went longer. I wish there was more of it. I didn't feel like, you're all into the characters and you just get left. This is fun. We can do the QR code and then go watch it and binge it. Oh, wow. That is amazing. Great. Okay. Now, Angel did this, right? So we're all familiar with what Angel's done. So they're producing and putting this out. Now, they're known for faith-based and all that. But this is a PG-13. It's got to have some edgy stuff to it. Is this like a departure from what Angel's used to? Or is it a little step on one of the edgy side? Kind of give us an idea of what the show feels like.
Oh, that's a great question. So I have 3 kids, and, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and then I have 2 sons that are age 12 and 13, and they've all seen this movie with me. And I think it was okay for them to watch it. It does get intense, but it's not gratuitous. It's not overly, just wild and artsy. It's very grounded, and I think it's real. It's something that I'm really proud of, because I think in the faith space, and you guys could probably attest to this as well, man, there's been so many faith-based projects that you're like, I like that, I like it, I love it, but I'm so proud of this because it's really packaged in a way that, man, the faith is not like pushed in your face. We're not going to force, we're not forcing anything. We have characters that are atheists. We have characters that don't want anything to do with God. We have characters that love God. We have characters that are married. We have people that are single. We have teenagers falling in love. We have a character for everybody. And
so in other words, the real world, what the real world's about, not the Christian world, but what the real world, that's what it's like. And I'm glad you guys are doing that. I'm glad you're showing that realistic traits, because that's what Isaac and I talk a lot about is how can you show, especially maybe like this, how can you show a scenario where people are at the edge of needing redemption, or at the edge of having problems, or at the edge of needing God? How are you going to show the need and how God comes in if you don't show it before? You've got to show some kind of a life or some kind of a thing to happen to feel like, okay, God came in and rescued or redeemed or whatever. You have to have that, and so many films don't. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Absolutely, wow, and I think there's I don't know if this is the right term, but a classy way to do it.
Yes.
There's a way to honor it, and I think if you want to honor God, you got to honor what He made. He made people, and people have gone through a lot. And so I can take, one of my fans that love, like, let's say Christmas holiday rom-coms over here, or somebody that watches a science fiction over here. it doesn't matter what you do for a vocation. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. What do we have all in common? Why do we all go to a movie theater and we sit there and you're with a bunch of strangers, and yet you're all focused on one thing and your hearts move towards something very similar all at the same time? This is what a movie can do. This is what a TV series can do. And I believe this is what Homestead's going to do, because you're going to watch this and you're gonna feel something with one of the characters. I honestly think you'll resonate with somebody. It'll start with one, you know, and then it'll multiply, because I think you're gonna find characters you love, and you are definitely gonna find characters you do not love.
Well, I heard the series is based on, or the movie is based on the book Black Autumn, and that people said they read the book and it scared them because it was so realistic. I mean, we've just been through a year or two, 3 or 4 of really rough political environment, where now does this movie feel like it could really happen more than ever before?
Yep, absolutely. And it's such a relevant time. Like, honestly, we couldn't have planned this to come out. Like, we actually planned for this to come out at a different time, and it fell through. Wow. And by fell through, I mean God had another plan, because I think that this is coming out at an exact time. I mean, the election's over. Christmas is hitting and New Year's starting. People, you know, live through, as you mentioned, all the COVID stuff. We just had hurricanes. We have fires happening right now. I think that people are going to be surprised, because they'll watch Homestead, and we're not pushing a political agenda. We're not trying to like blame somebody. What we did was we found a world and we created it. And then we take all these people that are very much like you and I, and we drop them into this world, and then we just see what happens. And that's really what's important, is following the people, you know, following their journey. And like you mentioned earlier, you touched on this, I really liked it. If I'm sitting at home and I'm watching something and I go, okay, I really want to connect with somebody today, and you're watching this movie, and whatever, it could be about whatever you want it to be about. But if you don't take that character to like kind of a depth and a place of maybe hurt or heartache or challenge or overcoming something, and all you want to show is like the cheery good stuff, most people probably aren't going to really believe your story, because most people don't live in this world that's like everything's perfect every day. And if they do, they're probably lying to themselves. So let's be honest. We got to meet people in the mud. You got to meet them in the storm. And then once they connect with you and they go, oh, I resonate with that character or that one or her or him or that family, then we can take them to a place of hope. We can bring them to a place of healing. And that's what we're bringing to the screen for you guys.
Now, I haven't, I got to admit, I haven't seen the movie yet. I definitely plan to. But from watching the trailer, it just opened my eyes to something that I kind of found to be a bit of a moral dilemma. I really hadn't even thought about this. And this is why I say this. My son is a former Army Ranger, and he right now owns a 10-acre property. His specialty was he was a sniper, and so he's all into guns and everything. And he's always wanted for us all to live in a compound. He said, so that when the stuff hits the fan, we all come together in this compound and we protect our family. And it sounded really good. But I never thought about this, and I did see it in the trailer. That's intended to keep the bad guys out. But what about the good people that just need help, and they want to also be a part of this compound? And basically what I saw in the trailer is that I guess the compound is full at this point, and they have to turn away good people. I mean, how does that get resolved?
I love that you're asking that, because you need to go see the movie right now. It's not out though till December 20th, but it's coming. So yes, we attacked that situation, and we're going to expose it, and we're going to show it to you all, because that is one of the massive questions in life. Is, let's say you have what you need. Well, do you love your neighbor as yourself, right? That's some of the posing questions that we do. There is a gate, and there's a fantastic line in the movie that says, is this an ark or is this a fortress?
Yes.
And all of us have to ask that question about our lives, no matter where you're at right now. Who are you letting in the gate, and who are you keeping out?
Wow.
I love that. Okay, I have to ask, how is it working with Neil? Because we just love him. We followed everything he's done. I love his morals. I love where he stands about his wife. Yeah. I followed him for years as a film critic.
They're such a power couple. I love just seeing them together. I love when couples are together too. That really is an inspiration to me, because my wife and I and our family, we try to do everything together as well. So to see someone who's who's been around longer than me, who's seasoned in doing it. It's just really I really look up to it, and I'm thankful for that example. Working with him it was super fun. It was kind of surreal. I mean, I loved so many different roles he did. Band of Brothers. I actually almost, I got close to being in Band of Brothers when I was younger. I was living in LA, pursuing acting, and I auditioned for it, and I was like, man. And then years later, I ended up doing a guest star role on Project Blue Book, and that was when I first finally got to meet Neil.
Oh, wow.
And then working on the Homestead now, I actually got to meet him. So, like further and spend more time with him,
Mm-hmm.
And, it's always a wonderful thing to meet the people that you're working with, right? Whether they're cast or crew, and you sit with them and you learn about their families, and you find out if they're married or divorced, or did they just have a victory in their life? Did they just have a defeat? Did they lost someone? And ultimately, that's where a lot of cool stuff happens. It's not always when you're making the movie, it's who you're making it with. And for the first time in a long time, making Homestead, it's actually in the material now too. It's not every day that it's in the material, and it's in the material in a way that, like I said earlier, I'll coin as just classy, well done.
Yes. And speaking of who you're working with, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but director Ben Smallbone. Now he's the brother of Luke and Joel Smallbone, who we all know. For King of Country. And I actually have met Ben when he was younger, and then met him recently, but it's exciting to see him on this venture as a director. Oh, absolutely. Ben's fantastic. That whole family's just ridiculously talented. It's kind of like, whatever. It's like, what, were you going to share with the rest of us? I mean, what are you doing? I know, Rebecca years ago. I mean, I know. Yeah. The whole family. So I also live in Nashville, and so I see them all the time. We were just at the Drummer Boy premiere, and we just love to support one another. Around the whole Franklin, Nashville area, it's a community, and that's what Homestead is. It's a community. So working with Ben is fantastic. He's got a very dry, direct sense of humor. He's very collaborative. He's professional, but he doesn't stress out, and you want that in a director, right? You want someone that's kind of leading the vision, so that you feel, hey, if I'm going to do this scene and I'm just going to go full raw and just pour it all out for you, you want to trust that the camera operators are capturing, and the focus pullers got it, and the lighting's dialed in, and the editor's going to do it, and whoever they get to do music, and the director oversees all those little departments. And so when you have someone you trust, you roll on the set and you're like, I'm doing this. I'm going to leave it on the field. And that feels good. You know what I mean? Seeing the movie now, we just had the LA premiere. We have a Salt Lake City premiere tonight. And I just love seeing everybody's performances, because you don't get to see it all the time when you're working. And we have such a big cast. I still haven't even done scenes with some of the cast. So when you get into the series, you'll now, our world will start to open up. You'll be like, oh, now we get to see more cast interact with each other, and all these worlds cross. Isaac and I were talking about how you're in this movie, and then we were like, Isaac was like, yeah, he drowned when he was 19. I'm like, yeah, you fell from a 25-foot cliff, and all these things happened to you growing up. Good Lord, you are trained for this movie.
I was going to ask you this question, which was, I felt, man, this is kind of a silly question, but okay, let's do it. And again, I heard you had ripped your stomach with wire when you were 10. You fell from a 25-foot rock. You drowned when you were 19. And yet, I noticed on your IMDb that you did 16 movies as a stuntman. And my question is, what were you thinking?
Well, you were trained.
Yeah, I've always been physical. I love training. I love being active. And so I started training in stunts right out of the gate in my acting career. And I've been doing it ever since. And so I still look for stunt work, and I'll still go out sometimes and do some stunt gigs in between acting. And sometimes I don't talk a lot about it. I just kind of do it and let it go. And it's such a wonderful opportunity.
What was your favorite stunt that you did in Homestead, in the movie that was?
Homestead, we didn't do anything too crazy so far that I have to be like, oh my goodness, we blew up the building and I flew 70 feet. Although I hope that's coming. I hope that we're going to do that. But no, just being that, I think really ultimately also put me in the right position to do the role, right? It's like, I mean, you think of stories like David and Goliath, and you think, well, he's out there and he's doing his job, and he's, you know, slinging rocks and he's protecting the herd, you know, the flock story. And you never, you know, he wasn't like, I'm going to fight a giant one day. He had no clue. You know what I mean? Moses had no clue that he was going to go and save a bunch of slaves, you know, and be a part of this massive movement. But yet God trained him and put him through all these things. So I do believe that for me, doing stunts, physical training, just being active all the time, puts me in a position so that when I get a call out of nowhere and I'm supposed to play a Green Beret who's been doing it for 20 some years, that at least I have a physical base that I can operate from. Because if I didn't, there's no time. I don't have time to go and train like a Green Beret. So I think it was just, it's kind of built into the plan. You know what I mean?
You know, I have a son that lives in Nashville and daughter, and they're 3 teenagers. They live in Brentwood. And I just was there visiting for Thanksgiving. And I love that town. And I love that you're saying you're there with your family. I feel it's easier to be grounded in your faith and what you're doing when you're out of the Hollywood, because I was there for years and years. And
yep, same.
I admire you for that. You know, how has that been to have your faith and to take on certain roles that maybe it goes against what you're believing? Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm, you know, a little more seasoned, I suppose, and been around a little longer, a little more comfortable in who I am and who I don't want to be, it's easier for me to push back if that comes up.
Yeah.
But as you do it longer and longer, you live in a way that it almost never even comes up. But, oh yeah, first 10, 12 years of my career, everything came at me. They wanted, you know, they always wanted to hire me to be the guy who cheats on the marriage, you know, is sleeping with all the girls. I'm in all the fights. And although that is reality for a lot of people, and that's a story that sometimes maybe needs to be told so you can find redemption and healing through all that, I just felt like I wasn't the performer to tell those stories. And you have to figure that out. And yet you know, everyone has different convictions. You need to find out what those are. Some of them you know immediately, and you can go like, I don't want to do nudity. Draw the line in the sand, I'm done. Some of them you have no idea. It's like you imagine, you know, and I've used this in a lot of interviews, but it's because it's true. You know, I had to decide, which was already decided before, I just didn't know I had to make it a public decision, that I'm not going to do any scenes where I make out with animals. That literally came up in an audition.
Wow.
I thought they were kidding. And they're like, no, yeah, we'd love for you to play this guy. And he like, you know, he has this makeout scene with a horse. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. What? And they're like, and they're all dead serious. And nobody laughed. And I was like,
oh my God.
Oh, you serious? You serious? Like, is it like a dummy horse? Is it a real, like, now I'm just kind of like wondering how they're even going to do this. And they're like, just explaining this scene to me. And I was like, man, you know, and then you got to talk yourself out of the room and be like, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. No, like, I'm not doing this. So anyway, sometimes you think you know what your moral boundaries are, which I did, but I didn't know I had to make that one public.
Oh my gosh. I have a real quick question. You've done like 7 or 8 Christmas rom-coms. What's your favorite one? It's Christmas time. What's your favorite one you can suggest that people can watch that you're in?
Oh, snap. So I just did an interview and someone asked me, do you know how many Christmas movies you're in? And I actually didn't know the answer. So now I know the answer because they told me. So I'm in 11.
We do our research.
11. There's 11 Christmas movies that I'm in. And I was like, whoa, how did I even get here? Well, praise the Lord. Christmas is fun. And you know what? Let It Snow is still probably one of people's favorites.
Okay.
It's it kind of, I guess I could probably say iconic. Like people watch it a lot. And it just ended up on Great American Family. I just helped produce and acted in A Little Women's Christmas, which my daughter, who's 10, has her acting debut. So that was really special for me. And she nailed it out of the park. She's so good. And I think if she wants to do this, I think she could do this really well and probably better than me by far.
She's got a great example of her dad, that's for sure. That is for sure.
Thank you.
I want to ask before Isaac, we go, is there anything, Jesse, that we can pray for you? Like, because our audience can pray for people in the interview if they say, is there something that if you don't, that's fine. But if you have an area or something you want us to pray for you, we'd be glad to do that and encourage people after they watch this interview to do that for you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. That's always a really good question and always, you know, you don't want to go on and on about what you need to pray about. Yeah, it's like
that's okay.
I'm always praying for a lot of the core things. You know, I pray that my marriage continues to flourish and become stronger and is always protected, because from there my children will be fed properly. You know, but we have to be connected to God and connected into the vine. You know, Scripture says. So prayer for my marriage, you know, and prayer in this industry that. You know, I have a joke, but it's honestly a prayer of mine. I pray that Homestead does well enough that I could buy Homestead. I've always wanted to be able to have our own land and our own place to call home.
Nice.
God sent us sort of on our way 2 years into COVID. He said, go. And we were like, where? And he's like, yep, just pack. And we're like, okay, where are we going? And he's like, you're going to go that way. And we're like, okay, we're going south. Excellent. Any particular place in the United States? And he's like, just start driving. So my lawyer told me that Canada was going to close its border to its own people and they weren't going to let us leave. And I said, well, how long until that happens? And he says, well, we don't know, but rumor is 12 days. So we left in about 6 days. Everyone in my family got one piece of luggage, and we had 4 bins, and we got into my pickup truck, 3 kids along the back, you know, at that time, maybe ages 8, 9, 10. And we started driving, and we just prayed, and we drove, and we stopped. And we did that for 2 months and 2 weeks. And we drove from Vancouver, BC, where we were at the time, to Florida. And when we drove through Franklin, Tennessee, both my wife and I just had this immense peace. And God was like, stay. And in your mind, you're going, oh, like, okay, wow, okay. I had no idea. Love this place. It's beautiful, gorgeous. The people are amazing. But what about my career, Lord? What do you want? Like, nobody moves here to do this. And I have never witnessed more people moving there and more film happening and more meetings and people of faith coming together. Like, every day I'll meet somebody who's like, I just moved here. God told me to do it. And you're like, what is happening? God's like moving people. And we're moving and grooving, and I don't know what's up. And now I'm on this homestead project, and I'm like, okay, Lord, let's go.
Fantastic.
I'm so excited for you that you're on this, and I hope that it stays and you're on it for years to come. Jesse, you've been such a delight.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing with us openly, too, about your faith and where you're at. I think people appreciate knowing that. And we will keep you in prayer and keep you in mind, and we'll keep watching. I'm excited.
Yep. Thank you.
And before we leave, a fan wrote that your social media presence is fun, genuine, respectable, and real. How can people follow you and experience that fun, respectable, genuine social media presence?
Real.
Real.
Oh, I appreciate that. Instagram is kind of the only one that I have a personal connection to. I'm trying to do more on Facebook because there's so many wonderful fans there. So I do have a Jesse Hutch fan page, and then Jesse Hutch on Instagram. And I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I'm working on using it as a continued tool for the Lord.
Fantastic. All right.
Well, you've been such a great guest to have on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much
for taking time with us.
You guys were great. I appreciate you.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.